Hey, it's Antonia Mercorella, CEO of the REIQ. We wanted to do a quick video update about a number of questions we have been receiving this week. Just wanting to make sure you can go to the weekend with the knowledge you need to move confidently. So the first topic I'd like to touch on is that we have seen some chatter online in relation to real estate practitioners having to produce evidence of either their salesperson's registration or their license. So just to provide some clarity on this issue, it is a requirement for registered salespersons, auctioneers, resident letting agents and licensed real estate agents to have to produce a copy of their registration certificate or license if they are asked to do so by either an Office of Fair Trading inspector or actually anyone who is dealing with the real estate practitioner can ask that question. Now, just to clarify, you'll find those provisions in the Property Occupations Act. You can go and look at those. It's section 101 and section 150. But don't panic. We understand that it can be quite impractical to be carting around an A4 piece of paper. So, of course, what you can do if you don't want to cart it around physically is you could take a photograph of it and be able to demonstrate it by showing a photo of it that you can keep on your mobile phones. Or, of course, alternatively, as we know, there is a public register that the Office of Fair Trading manages, and of course you can always use that as a backup as well. So I just wanted to clarify that position. There is no longer a requirement to have the license on display. You might remember that that was previously a requirement under the Property Agents and Motor Dealers Act. That's no longer a statutory requirement. I appreciate there's still some agents out there who do that by way of best practice, but not a statutory requirement. So I hope that that provides some clarification on that issue. Now, secondly, I wanted to move on to mandatory CPD. Earlier this week, the Office of Fair Trading put out a communication, and that has caused some confusion. So again, just to provide some clarity on that, what we have seen is that the Queensland Government has now released a decision regulatory impact statement in relation to the introduction of mandatory CPD for all real estate professionals in Queensland. And that regulatory impact statement makes a recommendation to implement a particular option. It's the light option. And what that will mean is that the government is considering and has now recommended the implementation of that mandatory CPD regime. But to be very clear, there's still much work that needs to be done. So it's certainly not a requirement as yet. Of course, if you are a member of the REIQ, however, we do require you to undertake annual CPD. What the mandatory CPD regime will do, if and when implemented, it will require anyone who holds registration or a license to undertake annual CPD training, and it will be prescribed training. Now, we've just recently met with the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. So in terms of what the next steps look like, there will need to be a bill that is drafted because it will, in order to introduce the regime, we will require a legislative amendment to the Property Occupations Act. And of course, that bill is yet to be drafted. It then needs to go into Parliament and it needs to pass. So realistically, we don't expect to see a bill in Parliament until sometime next year. And even when it's passed, hopefully next year, we wouldn't expect to see the regime implemented for probably another 12 months thereafter. So don't panic. There is plenty of time to get ready. But of course, if you would like to start undertaking more training, we would encourage you to do so. And if you would like to talk to us about what sort of training resources we have available, please give the team here at the REIQ a call. And finally, I wanted to touch on the seller's disclosure regime. Now, you would be aware, hopefully, that the property law bill has finally passed. This has been a very long time in the making. A review into property laws commenced back in 2017. Now, my colleague Kat Bevan has already released a video outlining the key amendments, but what I wanted to touch on was the introduction of a seller's disclosure regime, which is one of the most critical components of the bill. Now, again, we've received a number of phone calls about this. Earlier today, we developed and delivered a webinar on the seller's disclosure regime. If you weren't able to watch that, don't panic. It is available on our member resources section of our website. So I encourage all salespeople and principals to watch that webinar so that you can understand what it involves. But again, just in summary, what will happen is the introduction of a uniform statutory disclosure regime. Now, even though the bill has passed, it is yet to commence. It has not commenced as yet, and we don't expect the commencement of the seller disclosure regime for probably another 12 months. So again, please make sure that you're not panicking about this. As your peak body, we will be delivering very comprehensive education around this topic, and we'll make sure that we keep you informed so that you are ready when in fact that does become law. So in the meantime, I encourage you to watch that webinar so that you can start to wrap your head around what's coming and be ready for it and the changes that it will mean to the way that you sell property in Queensland. So I hope that's provided some clarity on those three key topics for you. But if you do have any further questions about any of that subject matter or indeed anything else, always feel free to give the team here at the REIQ a call. We're here to help. Have a wonderful weekend and we'll see you very soon.